It was 2004, and suddenly things were looking dire in the Marvel Universe. After 40 years and 500 single issues of the Avengers, Earth's mightiest heroes disbanded. Avengers Disassembled follows this catastrophic event. Things truly go south. Jack of Hearts arrives at the Avengers mansion, and all the radiation inside him becomes unstable. He explodes, destroying the building and killing Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man. Vision, no longer in control of his system, crashes a Quinjet against it too, leaving it in an even worse condition. Iron Man throws a drunken tantrum at the United Nations and loses the Avengers Charter. He hadn't even drunk alcohol. She-Hulk becomes violent, killing Vision, attacking the Wasp, and even Captain America. You want more? A Kree army appears out of nowhere. During the battle, Hawkeye's arrows are hit and explode, killing him on the spot. What is happening? It's the Scarlet Witch. She remembered that her twins are gone after Agatha suppressed the memories. Now Wanda wants revenge on the Avengers, whom she blames for what happened. But this isn't all. Iron Man has been framed, Thor has died during Ragnarok, and even Falcon is acting differently due to unknown hallucinations. Captain America is simply depressed. This is way too much to handle. So, the Avengers decide it's time to call it quits. Can you imagine this? It's been 4 decades since their debut, and suddenly Earth doesn't have its main protectors anymore. Of course, this can't last. But no, there won't be a new roster of Avengers soon. Instead, a couple of months later, fate organizes for the new Avengers to unite. The villain known as Electro has orchestrated a breakout at the raft. Chaos ensues. Fortunately, a couple of superpowered beings are around to help out. Luke Cage, who is working as a private security agent, is there as a bodyguard for Matthew Murdock, aka Daredevil. They're at the raft to meet Sentry for some legal issues. Alongside them, Spider-Woman, who is a SHIELD agent working on Sentry's case. Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Captain America arrive to help too. They have no business at the raft before, but as you know, they will never say no to helping out. Must be fate. That's what Captain America thinks, so he proposes to create a new team of heroes who will try to find the 42 criminals who escaped. Iron Man has a hard time accepting, but he does eventually. Daredevil chooses not to join them due to personal issues, and the Sentry takes a while to become an official member, but everyone else is on board. These are the new Avengers: Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Luke Cage, Spider-Woman, and the Sentry. A bit later, they would be joined by Wolverine. Then, Maya Lopez, aka Echo, would also join them during her tenure as Ronin. Contrary to the MCU New Avengers, who are all rogues turned into heroes, excepting maybe Bob, the most prominent New Avengers members in the comics are all lawful good heroes. But they're also incredibly powerful, so they pose a big threat to anyone who messes with them. Of course, as it happens with other super teams, this isn't a definite roster. The New Avengers have been active for 20 years now, and they have lost and gained members dozens of times, including Captain Marvel, The Thing, and Doctor Strange. Would you like to see something similar for the MCU team? Now, these New Avengers are not related to the government, so they get to do more with their abilities. No shield to answer to. However, they still needed a proper introduction to the world. Like the MCU version, they were unveiled at a press conference after some months working in the shadows. But this time, nothing good was said about them. J. Jonah Jameson only had bad things to say about them. However, Ms. Marvel's support turned the tide, and the general public started loving all of them. You likely know him already. The New Avengers' first leader ever is also one of the most prominent members of the original Avengers. Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, is Marvel's most famous super soldier. Although he was originally a regular, if anything very scrawny and sickly man, the super soldier serum allowed him to fulfill his wish to protect his country. With superhuman strength, speed, reflexes, and stamina, this superhero is a true threat on the battlefield. But not only that, he's also a master strategist, a highly skilled warrior, an incredible leader, and a goody two-shoes over everything. Rogers is such a noble warrior. He's one of the few heroes to be able to lift Mjolnir. He's the most lawful among all lawful heroes. Tony Stark may not be as virtuous as Steve, but he has earned his place in the Marvel's Hall of Fame thanks to his amazing story. A billionaire and heir to Stark Industries, Tony was working on one of his foreign factories when he fell on a booby trap that lodged dangerous shrapnel on his heart and then was taken by terrorists. In order to save his own life, Tony created a suit of armor with a gadget that plugged into his heart to keep it beating. This amazing armor, equipped with offensive and defensive tools, allowed him to escape his kidnappers. Following that, Tony used his genius intellect to make the armor better and better. He took the name Iron Man, founded the Avengers, and then went on to become a paragon in the superhero community. It's no surprise that he rushed to the raft to help when he learned about the breakout. When shy Peter Parker was only 15 years old, he was bitten by a radioactive spider. This gave him spider-like proportionate powers. He's incredibly strong, fast, and agile. Besides, he can sense danger through his spider sense, and he can crawl up walls without minding gravity. There's actually a complex scientific explanation behind this, but we don't want to bore you with the details. Embracing his role as a spider-themed hero, Peter designed wrist web shooters to attack enemies and swing around. Then, around the time Avengers Disassembled happened, Spider-Man developed organic shooters. This change was inspired by Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. It's been a long time since Spidey debuted, and the Spider-Man lore has gotten more and more complex over the years. But one thing remains: he's a fan favorite. Perhaps the most popular superhero before the MCU launched Marvel into the mainstream. Maybe two things. He will never say no to helping the innocent. Carl Earl Lucas, aka Luke Cage, was framed by one of his childhood friends and thrown into Seagate Prison unfairly. Here he was recruited by Dr. Noah Burstein for a medical research project that was, in reality, an experiment on the recreation of super soldiers. Luke was put into the electrobiochemical system, a machine that altered his cells, fortifying them to the point of making him incredibly strong and, most importantly, bulletproof. Originally, Cage used his abilities as a hero for hire, helping only those who could pay. Not very heroic, right? However, he eventually became a vigilante known as Power Man, and then he became an Avenger. It was thanks to Luke that the new Avengers stopped being a team for the biggest cosmic multiversal threats and started focusing on small communities too. He brought a new perspective to the team, and his peers saw it. In fact, when Captain America left this roster, Luke became the leader. This was a refreshing change. When Jessica Drew was only 1 year old, her father, Jonathan Drew, moved the family to a small parcel of land on the outskirts of Wundagore Mountain for work. Jonathan, an ambitious scientist, discovered there were tons of uranium here that he could use for his experiments alongside Herbert Wyndham, aka the High Evolutionary. Unfortunately, the copious amounts of uranium made Jessica sick. The only way of helping her was to inject her with an experimental serum made out of spider blood and put her in stasis for a while. This experimental process, of course, altered her forever. You guessed it. The serum granted Jessica amazing Spidey abilities. She's super strong, super fast, super flexible, and she can use bioelectricity to blast her enemies. Besides, her healing factor is amazing. All these abilities make her an amazing asset for the new Avengers. Side note, there's a very important detail about Spider-Woman's time with the new Avengers, but we'll get to that in a while. Robert Reynolds, aka Bob, aka the Sentry, was once a drug addict in search of his next fix when he stumbled upon the Golden Sentry serum at Canada's shady Department K. Without thinking twice, Bob took this substance, becoming the Sentry, a flawless superhero with amazing powers. Besides the basics, like superhuman strength, speed, and stamina, the Sentry possesses molecular kinesis, the ability to fly, energy absorption and manipulation skills, and most importantly, retroactive immortality. What does this mean? Well, not only is his healing factor amazing, but even if he's killed, the Sentry will return, one way or another. He can't be killed. Of course, this is also true for the Void, his dark side. Such extreme contrast makes Bob an amazing superhero, or the worst villain ever seen in Marvel, at the same time. When James Logan Howlett was just a kid, his animalistic mutation manifested. He grew bone claws from his knuckles. Later, he would also learn that he had been granted one of the most powerful healing factors ever. Of course, this wasn't the end of it. Basically immortal, James fought many wars and lived different lives in different centuries until he was taken by the Weapon X program. This inhuman government project coated his bones with adamantium, having claws made out of one of the strongest metals on Earth, combined with Logan's rage to make him one of the most brutal superheroes ever. Although he's mostly known for being an X-Men, he has been part of the Avengers too. In fact, during his tenure as a new Avenger, Wolverine was also an X-Men. Nothing he can't handle. He even jokes about multitasking being his true mutant power. The last member of the first ever new Avengers roster is Maya Lopez, also known as Echo or sometimes as Ronin. Recommended by Daredevil, she joined the team while they were looking for Silver Samurai since Murdoch gave her some intel. Besides, she was able to infiltrate the Hand's base. You see, Maya's Maya's abilities make her a formidable warrior. She has photographic reflexes, which means she can emulate anything by just watching it. Yes, she can copy any fighting style within seconds of seeing it. In fact, she can also learn to play an instrument or a complicated dance routine in the same way. This last stuff may not be useful in her superhero career, but it's still an amazing party trick, isn't it? As a former villain, Maya first had a hard time not killing her enemies when working with the New Avengers, but she respected Captain America's wishes, and most importantly, she grew to understand his reasons. Her tenure in the New Avengers is likely the beginning of her transformation into a superhero, which has only gotten better and better. Recently, Maya was the host of the Phoenix Force after it deemed her worthy. Going from an assassin to a cosmic being isn't a small thing. Just like it's about to happen in the MCU, the New Avengers and the Avengers have coexisted in Marvel Comics. However, this isn't as problematic as it will be in the films. Instead, they work together as much as they can, although they focus on different villains most of the time. Following the siege of Asgard, when Norman Osborn attempted to invade it, Captain America became the new head of security, and since he was now a government agent, he abandoned the independent New Avengers, returning to the Avengers alongside Iron Man. For as long as Norman ruled, the New Avengers had worked outside the law, but it was a new age. There was no need. Luke Cage, who became the team's leader, requested Cap's support to maintain their independence. The super soldier accepted, and Iron Man even gave them the Avengers Mansion to use as a base. Up until then, they had been working at the Stark Tower. These two small acts proved that there would be no bad blood between the two Avengers super teams. Since then, they have worked together at times and independently at others, depending on the protection needs for Earth. Now remember how we said the New Avengers Spider-Woman had a small detail to discuss? Well, as it turns out, she was never Jessica Drew. Instead, Spider-Woman had been replaced by a Skrull, a shape-shifting alien. But it wasn't any Skrull. It was Queen Varanka, the race's leader and main orchestrator of this alien invasion. As Spider-Woman, Queen Varanka infiltrated the superhero community and gained the trust of her peers. This actually allowed her to mess with his mind for a while. It all began when Elektra died, and her true form was revealed. Soon, many other heroes showed their true Skrull identity, and paranoia ran high. Mr. Fantastic created a device to reveal hidden Skrulls, which gave the heroes a big advantage. Ultimately, Queen Varanki was taken down alongside her whole race. The true Jessica Drew was found alongside the other replaced heroes, but some of her peers had a hard time trusting her since Varanki had been the Skrull leader. Wolverine, ever the loyal teammate, invited Spider-Woman to stay with the New Avengers since Varanki had been with them for a while anyway. Luke Cage and Ronan had a hard time trusting her, but Logan stood by his actions, and Spider-Woman got to show her true worth with this roster. The New Avengers disbanded in 2012, only 8 years after they were created. Together, they went through the highs and lows of the Marvel Universe. We already discussed some of their story during Secret Invasion and Siege, but they were also already a team when Wanda created a new reality in House of M. They actually took different sides during Civil War, and they had to deal with becoming criminals overnight after Norman Osborn instated HAMMER during his dark reign. Ultimately, they simply went inactive. Luke Cage retired to be a father to his daughter with Jessica Jones. Captain America and Iron Man never returned after reforming the Avengers, and Sentry even died during King in Black. The Avengers Mansion isn't theirs anymore. Luke gave it back to Tony, and it now serves as the headquarters for the Avengers Unity Division. There are 2 other comic runs with the New Avengers name, but they aren't the team that showed up to fill the void when the original Earth's Mightiest Heroes went MIA. Things truly went full circle. Just like the Avengers disassembled, the New Avengers did too. As you can see, the Marvel Comics version of the New Avengers is much different than the MCU's version of the team.
I can't think of a worse group of people trying to work together.
The MCU's New Avengers have more to prove since most of them are on redemption arcs for past mistakes.
Assignment is complete.
And unlike the original New Avengers, they are backed by the government. Now, with the MCU bringing this team together, there's hope that Marvel Comics will bring them to the books too. However, likely, this won't be the original roster. Maybe it will be inspired by the films, with Yelena, John Walker, Ghost, Red Guardian, Bucky, and Bob on the roster. This wouldn't be the first time the MCU influences the comics. Did you know the New Avengers before the MCU introduced them? Did you know all this about them? Why don't you let us know in the comments below and subscribe? Until next time, thanks for watching CBR.